Hello, everyone. Welcome to More Than Lipstick, and I'm your host, Nicole Lauria. On this episode of More Than Lipstick, I want to talk to you about the phrase of "I'm sorry." I must admit, this is one of the most overused phrases that women use, and I hope by the end of our time together that you will understand how much of your power you give away when you overuse the phrase. I also want you to be able to determine if in fact you are an overuser of this phrase, "I'm sorry," to allow you to become self-aware of the overuse of this phrase. And if you are in fact an overuser, how can you dramatically reduce this phrase from your lexicon? I want to start with the definition of sorry. It's an adjective of feeling regret or compunction, sympathy, pity. To be sorry, to leave one's friend, to be sorry for a remark, or to even be sorry for someone in trouble. Regrettable, deplorable, unfortunate, tragic, a sorry situation, to come to a sorry end. When I read this definition, it felt really heavy. There's nothing celebratory about the phrase, "I'm sorry," but yet we as women tend to use this phrase, "I'm sorry," quite often. Now, some of you may be wondering, well, men don't ever apologize. And this is not necessarily the case. In fact, men do apologize when they, in fact, feel as though there is a behavior that warrants it. The difference between men and women, based on some of the research that I've conducted, that we as women tend to use the phrase, "I'm sorry," for little things. But when you think about the comparison of apologizing for little things to the true definition of the word sorry, you may agree with me that some of us have some work to do. Based on a study done by psychological science, men in fact do apologize, but they apologize based on behavior. We as women oftentimes use this phrase, "I'm sorry," to come across as being courteous and sincere and empathetic, when in fact, the overuse of this phrase, "I'm sorry," oftentimes makes us look vulnerable or incompetent or lacking confidence. So what I want to spend some time with you talking about today is the why. Why do we do it? Is it because we have just been taught and raised that way to apologize? Or is it just a cliche and a habit, a catchphrase that we've just become accustomed to using? And I'll give you an example of the frequency of the use of the phrase, "I'm sorry." Now, this example I'm going to share with you is BC. BC meaning before COVID. Many of us, when we were working in person, and some of us still do, many of us have weekly meetings. And this particular example, it's a scheduled weekly meeting. It's a 9 o'clock meeting. You're running a little bit late. You make your way to the office. You drop off your briefcase or your backpack and your purse in your office. You pick up your laptop, perhaps your portfolio and a pen, and you head down the hallway to your said meeting. Before you walk into the conference room, you make the decision to stop by the ladies' room. Just as you're about to push open the door, another lady walks out. What is the response? "Oh, I'm sorry." Once you've completed your business in the ladies' room, you make your way to the conference room. By now, there are only a few seats that are left. So you squeeze by, all down the line, all while saying, "I'm sorry, excuse me, I'm sorry." The meeting is now underway, and you're having a discussion around what could you do to present some information to a client. And you have a great idea. You think it would be a great idea to go to the client's office, take them some baked goods, and conduct a presentation on site in their office. In order to get your point across, you raise your hand and you say, "I'm sorry, I have an idea, and you go on to present that idea. I want you all to think about that for a moment. Within the first 90 minutes of your day in the office, you've already apologized more than 3 times. My question to you is why? Because based on the definition that I read earlier, those behaviors that you demonstrated do not warrant that I'm sorry. In fact, what are we really sorry for? The excessive use of I'm sorry and other forms of unwarranted apologies can, and in some cases, inflict unnecessary affliction of guilt and blame. Why do we as women subject ourselves to unnecessary guilt and blame? Do we truly realize how much of our power we're giving up when we're constantly saying, I'm sorry? Such a small phrase can have huge consequences. The overuse of this phrase can certainly have an impact on how people perceive us as women as being competent enough to be given an assignment, or even perhaps being a part of a cohort, or even worse, an opportunity for advancement. There are some possible outcomes as a result of the overuse of this phrase. People may lose respect for you. The author of The Power of Apology, Beverly Engel, shares that over apologizing is not that different from over complimenting. One may think that they're being nice and demonstrating care, but as I've already stated, it may come across as a lack of confidence. What are some other things that can devalue us as a result of the overuse of this word? It perhaps lessens the impact of a future genuine apology. Think about the boy who cried wolf. It can also be annoying. As I'm sharing this example with you, you may already be thinking about someone who is an over user of the phrase, I'm sorry. If you do know of that person or you're thinking about that person, what is the reaction that you have when you hear them say, I'm sorry, over and over again? It can also lower our self-confidence and our self-esteem. When we are on this journey of being empowered, living in our truth, speaking truth to power, we do recognize the importance of reducing the phrase, I'm sorry, from our lexicon. So what can we do to overcome being an apologizer? Well, one of the things that we can do is be more mindful of the use of the word. Now that we've had this discussion, being self-aware in your journey and reducing the number of times that you're apologizing for no good reason is a great way to start, but it requires practice. And if you are unable to manage your overuse of the word, then perhaps you want to find an accountability partner, someone that you trust that can assist you in making you aware when it happens. Switch it up. Instead of saying, I'm sorry, if someone's trying to get by you, past you, then perhaps you could say, let me get out of your way. Or another example, if someone has caught a typo that you sent in an email, instead of the response of, I'm sorry, perhaps you could say, thank you so much for catching that error. I'll go ahead and resend that information straight away. Or in the current climate, if you've now been invited to the 10th happy hour of the month and your liver just can't take it anymore, it is perfectly okay to say no. Saying no is an art form as well. It takes courage, and oftentimes it's uncomfortable. But no is a perfectly good response when it's something that you don't want to do. And you certainly don't have to apologize for not wanting to go to the 10th happy hour this month. And guess what? When you say no, you don't even have to give an explanation. A simple, no, I won't be able to attend this one, but thank you so much for the invite, is perfectly fine because it's your choice. In today's time, we have a lot of young girls, teenagers, young professionals looking to us for guidance. And they're not only watching what we do, but they're also watching what we say. Therefore, our influence over future generations is powerful. And just as importantly, the way that we utilize the phrase I'm sorry, or the lack thereof, the use of the phrase I'm sorry, has a direct impact on us. Because if we've managed to overuse this word and to inflict the guilt on ourselves, what is that doing for our self-esteem? What does that do for our confidence? How does it help us strive to achieve our goals if we're constantly filling ourselves with negativity? Not intentionally, of course, but yet it happens. So I encourage each and every one of you that are listening today to self-reflect, to be mindful of the use of the phrase, I'm sorry, because truly, we're not sorry. Thanks so much for listening. I look forward to continuing in this conversation. Have a great day.